What's your favorite part about this park?
Oh, it's the joy that I see with whether it's got anything to do with dogs or not. The people are so happy to be here, right? And during the pandemic, this park was embraced at a level that I've never seen it embraced before, because people were restricted on where they could go because of the pandemic. Once the parks were opened up again, you saw them, embrace this park, and it was that, you hear early in the morning there's people, right until the sun goes down, there's people in the park, and so it's beautiful, it's unique, and it just brings joy to everybody.
Dog parks are increasingly being sought after as an amenity by citizens and municipalities of all sizes across North America. But designing those parks comes with its own challenges. That's today on NSK9. So we are in Shuby Park, which is perhaps one of the best known parks, best loved parks around. And you represent this area.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to represent this area. Shuby Park is one of the best, in my opinion, the best park in all of HRM, but it's also one of the best dog parks or off-leash parks, which is a portion of the park.
Yeah, and so the off-leash area is only a small portion of the park, really, right?
Yeah, that's right. So there's lots of trails in here, and it's large. It's one of the largest off-leash parks, but the park itself, I mean, if you're a dog lover, you want to hang out in the off-leash dog park with your dog, or you don't have a dog, it's great. If you want to avoid the dogs, there's lots of space for everybody.
So what makes this park popular for dog owners, do you think?
Yeah, the uniqueness of this park is the trail system being part of it. It winds through the woods, but it's along the water. And we also have I think the only off-leash dog park beach, which makes it really unique. And where it's located, it's in the heart of Dartmouth too. I think the location plays a role.
This isn't the only one, though.
This is not the only one. I mean, Point Pleasant Park in downtown Halifax is a big one, but they're almost in every district, and more and more, but we need more of them because there's so many dog owners and dog lovers, right?
A lot of people think they can go to the municipality and say,
right,
let's just make that park off-leash.
Right.
But in an ideal world, that's not how you do it, right?
No, these, park design should have a little bit more thought to it and a little bit more focus to it. And, a lot of municipalities, they're typically underfunded, they're typically understaffed by perhaps people that are capable of making these decisions, whether you're trained in landscape architecture or planning. So I've seen a lot of municipalities around Canada, around North America, where green is good. So here's a space, it's green, it's being used, it's not being used, it has lawn. What do you guys want to do there? Just throw it out there. And that becomes a space. And people gradually they begin imprinting their own kind of use for that based on the community. But municipalities, I think, need to be a little bit more proactive in that they're responsible for creating spaces for the community and responding to the needs of the community. So we have, different community environments, whether it's urban or whether it's coastal or whether it's arid in the middle plain. So this type of landscapes that people use and the type of people that live there. And so I think being aware of how we design those spaces, as I said, for humans, be more proactive. So understanding the needs or desires of the community. And as I said, we've seen these family kind of units developing to having dogs.
So if you're looking at designing a space where people can bring their dogs,
yes,
what considerations are important?
There's a lot. I mean, you can go on, there's research being done on it, not enough and not being much implemented, but I prefer to simply look at, there's probably three factors. One is accessibility, 2 is the user needs from the human, and 3rd is the user needs from the dogs.
So this has become a little bit more popular than I think anybody anticipated, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if originally it was considered to be a regional dog park, and it has turned into that, and the popularity of dogs, and so people travel from all over the municipality to come here, which is great. But it also adds a lot of volume and can get pretty busy on weekends and on holidays and so on.
So when I talk about accessibility, it's from a planning standpoint, a larger scale, before we get into the design, where do you want to put a dog park, right? It's not necessarily where is a leftover piece of land that's not being used that the municipality owns and throw it in there. They should respond to the community and the people in the community. So accessible is it walkable? Is it safe and walkable for my dog and I to get to this park? Is it close enough? Is it within a 5-minute walk, or do I have to get in the car and go in there? So if you get in the car, that's fine. Parking needs to be some sort of parking. There needs to be some sort of clear signage and structure as to how we use this space. And then the planning standpoint is, when I design a park or think about where are the possibilities from a municipality standpoint, where do I put it? You want to look at the environmental conditions. In addition to being close to people, close to residences. Well, is it near water? Is it near clean water? Is it near dirty water? Is it near a forest where there's lots of wildlife that can be impacted, or is it not near wildlife? Is it a place that floods, wet soil, dry soil? So these all conditions add to the best opportunity to create a good and meaningful dog park. The second thing is responding to the needs of the users, of the humans, right? So this is still a park that you bring your dog to as a human, as an owner, as a caregiver. So we have to respond to providing healthy places for those humans. And that typically has to do with the simple stuff. Is there shade when it gets hot in the middle of summer? Is there protection from the rain? Are there places to sit? Are there places to put my trash? It's the basic that we have in most parks, but a lot of time we forget that. We would just typically put up a fence, a piece of grass, and let your dog go run.
There are some spots in HRM that are fenced areas where you can train with your dog off leash too.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, we're building a new one in Burnside and Don Baylor Park, right next to where there's a sporting field there. And the design is going to be a fenced-in area for large dogs, and another fenced-in area for smaller dogs, and an agility park also. So we're looking at different types of designs, and some of our ball fields in the wintertime are designated to be an off-leash area because it's fenced in. Not all of our fields, but many of them. So yeah, there are different types of fields depending on the terrain. Again, that goes back to why this is so unique here in Shuby Park.
Reverse sneeze, so instead of with a regular sneeze, air is forcefully being expelled out, it's forcefully being sucked in. So it kind of sounds like a dog snorting and taking breaths in at the same time, and it can be quite alarming. Generally, a reverse sneeze episode doesn't last very long, so within 30 seconds. You can try to rub their throat to kind of soothe the animal, or I've seen people talk about plugging their nostrils, which maybe is a little distressing to the animal, but it kind of kicks them out of that episode. But it's caused by any sort of irritation within the nostril or the back of the throat area. So that can be anything from nasal mites, any secretions, or if your dog gets water up his nose, elongated soft palate, certain odors or airborne allergens can kind of put a dog into a reverse sneezing fit. There's usually no treatment for it unless it becomes progressive, that they're doing it all the time. Then we might think that there's a nasal foreign body, something stuck up there. Maybe there's a mass up there or a tumor. So in those cases, if it's going on longer than it should, or if we're noticing any discoloration in secretions, then we might want to investigate further. It's
a place for you to bring your dog, but you have to monitor your dog. You can't just go there and let your dog go crazy and start socializing with your friends. I think it's important that owners respect and understand that it's not a human park, it's a dog park, and there's a little bit of responsibility that we have to make sure our dogs are behaving properly or doing the right things or not getting into trouble with other dogs or other people. So it's not a social park. We have other parks people can go and do things. This is a dog park, and we need to represent that in our attitude.
But that would be the same as taking your children to the playground, too, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you can't just not watch your children, otherwise they could have an accident or get into trouble.
Right. And people do have that really focus on their kids, right? You got to make sure they're not falling down or getting boo-boos.
All right, so you had these cards made up that you sometimes leave on cars, and like a salesperson, I guess. So tell me about these.
Well, just trying to remind people of being a good dog owner. And no one likes the municipality say, thou shalt not do the following. And I looked at, Victoria did a neat campaign on good dog ownership, and they had a real challenge with people not picking up after their dog. So they actually had the chief of police in Victoria dress up like a fairy and holding a bag of poop saying, there's no such thing as a poop fairy. And so it was a lighthearted approach to remind people. And so the card is like a message from a dog to the humans, or to a message from a dog to other dog owners to talk about the humans to pick up after them and make sure you're on leash when you're supposed to be and so on. So it's just a reminder. And on the back of the card there's the actual rules, but it's really meant to be a lighthearted approach to remind them of it being a good dog owner.
I like to think of it almost as a child playground. And as I've said to other people, is the idea of the child's playground has developed a lot in the past 20, 30 years. It used to be, here's an asphalt, place outside your school, and we'll put up some iron monkey gym. Go out and play, burn off your steam, great, come back inside, right? That's play. That's what people still think play is. It's just so, from a dog standpoint, I've seen that also, where the municipalities here's a dog run, here's a fenced-in grass area. I don't know what's happening in there, it's just a dog place, right? No. When you take it the approach of a dog or a canine development, you can break it down into three simple things. I like to think of it as social development, emotional development, and the typical is the physical development. The physical development is the basic stuff, is how does my dog learn to be agile? How does my dog get to play, get to run? Canines need to run, that's the thing, they need to stretch their legs, right? So the physical development. And then you get more and you think about, just like children, they want to grow and learn. They want to gain confidence physically in how they grow as a dog, how they become more confident in their age. So you can design places where you can run and jump, but you should have different levels of how they jump. So not only dogs with short legs can only jump 6-8 inches, and the bigger dogs can jump to 2 feet, but as these dogs grow from puppy to medium to adult to senior, they're also learning that they're capable of confidence of being more physically agile. And that's a good thing, just like humans. That's what kids do when they go out in the playground. I don't know if I can do that. And they come back 2 years ago and like, yeah, now I can do it. It's the thing with that. The emotional development is a little bit difficult with dog. We're not able to get the response from dogs as we are, per se, children's or humans for the most part. We can't ask them questions. But when you look at the canine behavior and the genetic history of canines, you understand that they come from a pack environment, a large social network, and they come from a cave environment. So there's two things you can say there. So maybe we have different social groups, a small area. Not necessarily smaller dogs, but a small group of dogs. So often you see packs of 20 dogs. Get out of the way. Dogs are like humans. Maybe they don't want to be with 20 people. Maybe they want to be with 2 or 3. So quiet space, small group, large group. And then emotionally, bring something into the wild. They come from the wild. So like us, we're more comfortable in these natural environments. Our brain waves respond more positively. So sense of wild, sense of plants, sense of nature, not manicured hedges, but something more wild. It connects them to their prior landscape history.
So when you attend conferences and so forth, or even talking to your students about parks and park design and trends, are you hearing more about this sort of on the periphery of these events?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. We do surveys of the communities that we work with for parks, and I want to think we just had one this semester. I think the second most important one was dog park. The people that live in the communities understand there's a need for it. But here's the other interesting thing is then when we told the municipality what this community expressed that they want, they didn't want to know about it because it was a liability for them. Or if they didn't have the space to put it safely, they didn't want to acknowledge it at all. They weren't confident enough to know where they wanted to put this dog park, even though they knew there was a need for it, or they didn't have the proper location.
So they, in a way, recognized that they didn't have the knowledge,
Yes.
Internally at least,
Yes.
to do this properly in the way it would need to be done.
That's the way I would interpret it.
Yeah.
So I think to get back to the flow of kind of what you were saying is the municipality, I would call it being proactive. I would say take the time to understand the best location for this park in relation to the community and the environment and begin doing a plan because the community wants it. That's clear.
So they're going to have to address it eventually.
Otherwise, you're going to get kids in the parks and the dogs in the community gardens doing bad things. So, right? It's like, yes, there's damage happening because we don't have the proper environment for these dogs.
We're here on a Saturday, and I mean, there's a lot of people in here and a lot of dogs.
Yeah, a lot of dogs, and it's a good thing, right? Everyone's happy, everyone's got a smile, the dogs are wagging their tails. It's good, but it does add volume, and anytime you have volume, it can sometimes cause an issue with maybe an overabundance of dogs, but we are working out that in the municipality. We're looking to add many more dog parks, and even next year we have at least 3 or 4 going to be brand new next year.
They don't need their nails trimmed because they're always walking and hunting and grazing and naturally wearing them down on the ground and in the woods.
We all need to be doing more research into how we can really design what are the best practices for dog parks and have levels of implementation. But I think it's very important. It's the trend. It's the trend in growing areas, suburban areas, rural areas. And as I said, it's not just put up a fence around it and let your dogs go play. I think there's a little bit more thought about how we create a safe environment and an engaging environment for our dogs, which are a very important part of our social connections and our life.
What messages would you like to give to dog owners and users of the park?
Well, first of all, how welcoming this park is. I mean, come to this park, everyone's got a smile, including the dogs, and it's great, and it's beautiful, and there's enough room that we all can use this park any way that we wish. The other message is to be a responsible dog owner. I mean, most people are a responsible dog owner. I'm a dog owner. I have a 100-pound Husky Malamute. He's not with us today because we're in the off-leash park. He's not great with other dogs. So I realize, as a responsible dog owner, I shouldn't be in the off-leash park at Shrewsbury Park because it may cause a problem, so I didn't bring him today. And, doing basic things that most do. Pick up after your dog, right? If you're on the on-leash area of a park, then you should be on leash. As good as your dog can be, he still should be, or she should be on a leash. So those are the basic things. If you're in an off-leash park, any of our off-leash parks, you need to have control over your dog. So you need to have very good recall.
Because it's not supposed to be a free-for-all.
It's not a free-for-all, not at all. And if your dog doesn't respond to your call, then you really should think twice about bringing that dog to an off-leash park. If you're on the on-leash park area, making sure you have a short leash, not one of the long retractable leashes, because that could cause a problem with another dog.
So we can't be 100% right all the time, but we know the problems that are coming. There's enough history in dog parks, failures and successes that we've seen that we can make these decisions, I think, that would help the municipality be more successful in how they go about designing a park.
So you're coming at this as a community member, a dog owner, but also as someone in politics who has to live the politics of this.
Yeah.
If you were going to give advice to councillors in other municipalities in Nova Scotia or Canada who are looking at, okay, we want to design or open some off-leash parks, what would you say to them?
you know, even though I just mentioned about the fenced-in areas and designating for large dogs and small dogs, personally I like the more natural dog park. And so lots of education and maybe working with industry that works with the dogs, whether it's the pet shops or the trainers, and really educating people about responsible ownership. And most people do get it, but that's the one emphasis I would really focus on. You know, it's helping people to understand that. Everyone thinks Fido's a good dog, and Fido may be a good dog, but if someone else's dog is not so great, or if a person's nervous of a dog, we should recognize those cues that person's not comfortable with dogs, not allowing your dog to run up to another animal, not allowing your dog to jump on somebody. So it's that own control. I mean, sometimes people get really upset about dogs, and I don't blame the dogs. When we have issues, a lot of the time it's the owner, right? It's even that there's been discussion in some municipalities ban breeds. And personally, I don't believe in banning breeds. I think, some breeds have had numerous incidents that they've been involved in. Personally, I think that's not the breed, it's the owner.
Not all dogs are the same. Not all humans are the same. We have social dogs, not social dogs. Antisocial dogs with bad behavior and bossy behavior, and dogs that are really quiet. So why can't we design spaces to give dogs the opportunity to choose that? So, they come in, and are they getting stressed? If I'm a small dog and I enter a dog park and I see all these dogs running around, I might be a little like, I'm not ready for this. Maybe I need to go over here and look and process the environment before I engage in this activity or their social environment. So trying to respond to understanding the dog's developmental and their interpersonal characteristics, I think, is an opportunity to create better spaces that respond to the dog.
I mean, you guys are coming up to budget time.
Yep.
And there are people who'll say, well, why are you spending money on things for dogs? And I'm sure they say, why do you spend money for cyclists? Why do you spend money for anything, right?
Yeah.
How do you answer that?
Our municipality has grown so much, especially in the last, 7 or 8 years, and it's diverse in many ways. It's diverse in culture, which I'm very proud of personally, but it's also diverse in that we have more people that are biking, we have more people that are skateboarding, we have more people at the ball field here in Shirley Park last week, and they were playing cricket in the ball field, right? And so it's just a different type of municipality than it once used to be, and I think to the better. And so dogs are a part of people's lives. Being a dog owner, it's one of the family members, and I think we need to, when we grow this municipality, we need to make sure we're trying to be as inclusive as possible to all types of cultures, all types of activities. And being a dog owner, it's worthwhile investing. People want to come to the municipality for many reasons, and those that want to come because it's welcoming to dogs, I think that's part of it. But they're welcoming to being a bicycling, or they're welcome to walking and hiking. We've protected more green than ever before. So it's just a part of the piece of the puzzle. That's why it's worthwhile investing.
In March of 2020, indoor dog sports shut down suddenly. Now, 2 years later, they're getting ready to start up again. That's next time on NSK9. Take me back to 2 years ago.
So 2 years ago, we were sitting here in the arena, having the first Atlantic Spring Scent Detection Challenge, and it was really quiet. We got one show done. I had just come out of an interview with my last Springer, Camo, who everybody has met before. And the premier had just had an announcement saying that there was no longer going to be any gatherings, and the whole show shut down. It was deafeningly quiet when it started.